So the name's Pablo Rios, and the injury was about an inch and a half of my jaw was shattered to where they couldn't replace it. They had to give me an emergency reconstructive surgery and remove about like 3 or 4 more teeth. And then pretty much put in a donor's pelvis. So like right now about this much of my jaw isn't mine. And it's still technically healing. They had done the initial surgery, but earlier this month, they went to go look at it, and apparently they were scoring tissue in between the bones. So they had to pretty much clean it out and then do it all over again. I'm hoping that this time it does fully recover properly so that I don't have to go through the surgery all over again. Because if it didn't heal accordingly this time, I'm going to have to go through the whole surgery, and they're probably going to remove the bone and put something else. So the day of the accident, well, I had gone out the night before with some friends and my brakes had gone out. So you were able to stop, but you had to hit the brakes like really, really hard. So I went to work the next day, and then I just called off after my lunch. It's a shop that my dad knows. So he's really cool with the people there. So we went, they were going to help me switch the brakes. I purchased them before I went to the brake shop, and then they replaced them for me. We bleeded the lines and everything, and the brakes worked. I was able to get out of the parking lot just fine, but I took a left, and on that left there was a curve. So it was also raining outside, so that didn't really help. But as I was going on the curve, I realized my brakes weren't working. And now that I think about it now, I should have hit the emergency brakes, but I didn't think about it in that moment. So I tried to drift the car, and because of the rain, it ended up sliding into the ditch. The accident itself wasn't dire. Like I walked out just fine. Well, except for the airbag, but I was able to walk out and stuff. So if it wouldn't have been for the airbag, I would not be here right now. But pretty much it hit the sensor, the airbag deployed, and it was shooting shrapnel. So it shot me in the jaw, and it shattered about, like I said, an inch and a half of it. I got out. I remember there was a family that was walking their dogs, and they actually heard the accident. I don't remember pain. I don't remember anything. I just remember that this part was like super warm, and I was holding my jaw. And then for like a moment there, I kind of felt like I was in that movie Saw, where they remove the jaw. So like, cause it felt like it was loose, but again, I didn't feel any pain or anything. So I was just grabbing it like this. And the family that heard the accident, they walked to the scene and they asked if I was okay. I was like, yeah, I was able to talk. So like, it's just weird because my jaw was broken. So I was still able to talk. I was responding to them and everything. I called my dad and I was like, hey, can you come pick me up? Come take me to the hospital. Cause I didn't want to pay for the ambulance. And then yeah. So then the family comes and they're like, are you okay? I'm just like, yeah, my dad's going to come pick me up. They're like, they were on the phone with 911 and they're like, do you need an ambulance? I was like, no. And then they were like, okay, well, let him show you the wound. And then so he was like, okay, so can I see it? So when I remove it, that's when I first see all of the blood. And I'm just like, okay, so yeah, that's kind of bad. And then his first reaction, his first words, like he was shook, like he was in shock. And he just said, oh, fuck. And that's when I was like, okay, yeah, you should probably call the ambulance, tell them to come through. The ambulance ended up showing up like right away. They showed up almost at the exact same time as my dad, which was right down the street. So they took me, they immediately got me into everything. And the only reason why I knew what had happened was because the EMT had a Honda as well, who had the recall. But they let her know that she had to replace the airbag. So she knew what it was, but I didn't. So she pretty much explained it to me. So then I was joking and everything. I was still up, but I wasn't able to talk. So what I would do is I would use Google Translate. And then I would just press the speaker, and that's how I would talk to everybody because I wasn't able to talk at that point. They had already wrapped me up and everything. So yeah, and pretty much they took me to the hospital. By the time that I was there, I don't remember the trauma center. I don't remember getting off of the ambulance, but I remember them talking to me. And I just remember that I was able to mess with my tongue and like I was able to try to feel all of this part. And there was like a part where it was like a triangle and I could flip it up and down. And it was my jaw. Okay. So like I was able to move it and like I could feel it, but it didn't hurt, but it was super uncomfortable because it felt like I was going to swallow it. Yeah. I remember I spit when I got out of the ditch, it was a very deep ditch. So the car was literally slanted like this, but it was facing forward. So when I got out, I had to like crawl out because it was really, really deep. And I just remember standing like on the edge of the road like this and spitting out 2 pieces of something. I remember one of them was a tooth, and I thought the other one was a tooth as well, but now I'm coming to realize that it was most likely either the stratinal or a piece of my jaw. But then whenever I made it to the hospital, the doctor had to remove 2 additional teeth. So right now I'm missing 3 teeth right here. Yeah, so, sorry, yeah, after the physical damage, they did the surgery, and then I started going under to where I wasn't retaining any oxygen because of ARDS, acute respiratory distress syndrome, and I wasn't retaining anything. So anytime that they moved me, whether it was to wash me, whether it was to, put the tubes or something, any sudden movement, my oxygen level would automatically drop. So to avoid that, they had to put me in a coma so that I wouldn't be moving and I wouldn't be, running out of oxygen. And then they also paralyzed me from the neck down because I wouldn't stop moving. So like even when I was in the coma, like they were telling me like we've given the exact same amount of medication to a 6'2" man and he's out, but we don't know why I kept waking up. So like it was to the point where like they said that, it looked like I was drugged up. So I looked like a zombie, but they were saying that it would look like if I was just like trying to get up and get ready to go. And I don't remember that. So because of that, that's whenever they paralyzed me, and then even to the extent of they strapped me different like ways so that I wouldn't move at all because I was still moving. But that's what the acute respiratory distress syndrome is. Nobody knew what it was, like, cause it's very rare now. So I think it's like I think it's like 2,000 cases nationwide a year. But ARDS is pretty much, it was common back in the day before airbags. So it's weird that it happened because of the airbag. But technically whenever people would crash, they would hit their chest on the steering wheel and that would bruise their lung, and that's what would cause it. But with mine, I don't know if the airbag or if stratinal shot me in the chest or if it was the dust that was in there. Like we don't know what caused it, but it was in Memorial Hermann, Cyprus. So it was a brand new hospital. It's been there like 2, maybe 5 years. And nobody really knew what it was. Nobody knew what was wrong with me. Nobody knew I wasn't retaining oxygen. And honestly, I think it's super lucky that I'm here because there was a nurse that she normally works in the heart and lung center downtown in Memorial Hermann. But she decided to pick up a shift in Cyprus for the first time. So she picked up the shift, she lands on my floor, and they're like, well, what's wrong with him? And everybody was like, well, we don't know what's really going on with him. And she was like, y'all need to get him to downtown like yesterday. And then that's when I was life flighted because of her. Because if it wasn't for her, I don't know how long I would have been able to make it. Because like they said, I was pretty much borderline gone. So whenever she knew what it was, they moved me downtown, and I was life flighted like that exact same night. And that's whenever they did the ECMO machine. So, and they did the trach. So the trach itself is pretty much, my mouth was wired shut. So they put a little piece right here while I was under so that I can breathe. And I was pretty much just breathing through my throat. And then they did the ECMO. I don't know what that stands for, but pretty much the ECMO was like a Hail Mary. It was pretty much like, it was see if it worked, and if it didn't work, then we would cross that bridge when we got to it. But thankfully it worked. My lungs were able to recuperate while I was still getting oxygen because of the ECMO. And pretty much whenever they removed me from the vent and everything, I was on a vent too. So yeah, so that's why a lot of especially my mom now says that I'm really lucky that it happened right before COVID, because if it would have happened with COVID, who knows if they would have given me a vent. Like they were running out of vents for COVID patients and I needed one. So Carlos, he actually, My sister knows Aurora. So my sister knows Aurora for years. So she knows about Carlos, and Carlos also helped one of my cousins whenever he was hit by an 18-wheeler.
Mhm.
So it's pretty much like a family. Like we know where to come to if we need to. And he was willing to go. He actually went on his birthday on Valentine's Day because I was going to be transferred to downtown. So he drove on Valentine's Day to go see me and say hi and everything, and pretty much let me know what we were going to be working with and what he thought was going to be possible. And in all honesty, I didn't even think this was going to happen. I thought it was just going to be like a regular car accident that I totaled my car and time to move on. But no, thankfully, Carlos was able to help me, and he helped me a lot. He helped me tremendously. Oh, the staff was amazing. They always contacted me via text. And the thing is, I did have contact with a lot of them. So it was just like, I have like León Law Firm, León Law Firm on my phone. It's like Aurora, Angie. It's like, so it's like all of them. But they're super friendly. They always let me know whenever what I needed to know. They always kept me up to date, let me know, hey, Carlos is going to call you, make sure to pick up. Pretty much they walked me through everything. I didn't have to do anything besides drive here whenever I had to, but that was even seldom. Yeah, no, Carlos was super awesome. Even whenever we were getting down to the, numbers and everything, he was very promising. Like what's the word? He made me feel like he was on my side, because like he was like, I'm going to try to get this. Like, I can't guarantee it, but this is what I'm going for. And he knew exactly what buttons to push and get me where I am now. So yeah, I would definitely recommend Carlos in any kind of injury situation.